You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
I'm excited to have you today on our Training Thursday show. We're going to go through why shorter workouts are the future of fitness. I truly believe that, and I know that a lot of people in our community have already converted over to these shorter workouts. However, I want to make sure you're getting the same results, if not better, than those longer workouts you may have previously been doing. Because you can, if you know what to look for, what to follow, and just make sure, obviously, that you're staying injury-free, that you're doing a great job at hitting all the different parameters, all the different things that you need to do in that workout. So I want to explain that today. But for those people who might be thinking about doing a 45-minute workout, an hour workout, 2-hour workout, whatever it might be, I want to explain to you today how you can get just as good results in a shorter period of time. I want to go through the science, but I also want to share with you, though, how to actually put that into real-world practice. Because the goal of the Cabral Concept, you can get this on any other podcast. You really can. The goal is for me not just to regurgitate research. That's not my goal. There's a lot of other podcasts that do that, and those are fantastic. My goal is to say, okay, I've done the research for you. Here's what it says. Now do this, right? Because we want action steps. Like, this is what I do, but your job doesn't have to be to do the research. You just want the action steps. And I think that that's fantastic. But let's say you're a health practitioner. I give you the science so that you can then delve back into that research deeper yourself. And so, hopefully that when you listen to this show, you can get the content and get the information, but then it gives you something to take action on. Maybe it's not today. Maybe today's not the right day, but it gives you a plan that you can implement in the future when you are ready, right? When the time is right. Because it's not always, right? It's not always the right time. But if you have the knowledge and you can then implement that, you can set yourself up for success. That's what it's all about. So let's go through why I truly believe, and I know that this is the truth because I've seen the research, and it's been like decade after decade showing shorter workouts in the long run, so much better for you. But even in the short term too, we can get better results if we do a few specific things. So I actually have 7 little check marks. So I barely write any notes for a podcast. Sometimes I literally have 0. But today I have 7 bullet points that I'm looking at because I had to make sure, when I get on a podcast, a lot of times I start ranting, I get off topic, I just go with the flow. But the truth is this, is that for some shows like this one, I need to make sure you know those 7 specific parameters to stay within so that you understand why the shorter workouts are better if you're doing long ones now and how to set up those short workouts. So let's go through that right now. This podcast really came about because I still work with, I would say half my team are personal trainers and they're implementing workout programs and body transformation programs with clients. And so that's a fantastic thing. And for myself, I still personally work with people on Tuesdays from about 7 a.m., right around that time, maybe just a little earlier, until about 11:45. So right until early in the morning to right about lunchtime. And it's my philosophy that as a health practitioner, one, even if you do a lot of your work online or maybe it's in another field or whatever it is, it's great to stay in that and connected. My second thing is this, is that I love personal training, meaning that was my entry point into this whole health and fitness field. So a lot of people, they kind of forget their roots or whatever it might be. For me, it's not only my roots, it's what I love. It's honestly, I believe it's the best, if not one of the best jobs in the world. And I've said this before, but I want to reiterate it one more time. And here's why. When you're a personal trainer, you are talking about nutrition, you're talking about philosophy, you're helping clients through difficult times, almost like a therapist. You're designing the very best programs for them for in the studio or gym or on their own. You're health coaching. You're doing all of these different things if you take your personal training to the highest level. So that's why a personal trainer, I believe, can affect change in someone's life on such a great level. And I was unaware of that in the beginning because I was like, oh, well, I'm just here to put someone through a workout. I got certified 17 years old going to 18 years old. Because when I was really sick, I'm like, I don't know how to put myself back together. I need to start doing the things that people would. Let me study some personal training. Let me study nutrition. Then out of that, I loved it so much, I couldn't figure it out for myself because I was obviously, one of those special cases, right? Still a special case to this day, but very, very special case back then. And so for me, it was almost like therapeutic. I would help others. I would see them do well. That would make me feel great. Couldn't get better illness-wise, but I still felt great. So here's the deal. I love it. I really do. And so it's a passion of mine to get people who don't love what they're doing right now for work. And if they love exercise and they love fitness and they love nutrition, people say, should I become a nutritionist first? Should I become this first? Well, if you love exercise, become a personal trainer. It's such a great field. There's so many great certifications that you can get. And then become a health coach. Take your education then to the next level, whatever you want to do. But anyway, that was a little bit of a tangent as well, which is always why it's good for me to have my 7 bullet points. So for me, the other part that this, why I started getting into the shorter workouts is because I remember in high school, way overtrained as an athlete, right? So I did athletics for the fall, the winter, and the spring sports. And then got really, really sick, had to stop playing sports in the wintertime my senior year. That was obviously a huge crush to my ego, a huge blow to my self-identity, which I identified with trying to be good at school and in sports and all those different things. And all of that was gone. And so anyway, I got into weightlifting. And so that was after sports. I got more into weightlifting and I did that through college because my body was so ravaged from the illness that I was going through, but I could still lift weights. And that was very, very enjoyable. But of course, I overdid that. And so over time, we all kind of learn. I just want to share those lessons with you that, I learned by 27, 28 years old, hey, you have to stop overtraining. Like, this is not good for you. You keep running down your body, all of these things. So I just say, how can I get better results in a shorter period of time without overtraining? And that's also something I started to pass on to, my everyday clients. I worked with the Olympians. I've worked with world champions. I've worked with NFL athletes and pro golfers and, you name it. And it's been a lot of fun. But the fundamentals are the same for every person. The reason why athletes can train at maybe a higher level than the rest of us is because their job is really one thing. It's to be an athlete. So if you're sleeping 9 hours, 10 hours a night, well, you can recover faster. If you're in your 20s, you can recover faster. If you have a private chef, you can recover faster, right? Because you're getting all this great nutrition. So it's all of those things. You have to look at what's against you, which really brings me to my point number 1 of why and how to create these shorter workouts. Well, the first is this, is that, if you're living a normal life, like most of us, you have a job which is taking up 8 hours of your day, 10 hours of your day, you're commuting, there's stress, you might not be getting 8 hours of sleep a night, your body's not recovering as much. So here's the bottom line. I've spoken about this before, but your body is essentially supposed to work on a diurnal rhythm. Kind of 12 hours up, 12 hours down. And this isn't very well explained. It is in my upcoming book, which is actually just a couple weeks away. But what we're looking at is this. We're looking at the body should be ramped up from maybe around 7 a.m. or so to 7 p.m. maximum, okay? Daylight hours. And then it's supposed to come back down. But let's say you're on the go from 6 a.m. to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night because you're watching some TV show that gets you amped up or the evening news. You're amped up until bed and it might only be 8 hours of downtime, if that. So here's the thing. If we're always adding more stress to our life, our body's always becoming more catabolic than anabolic, which means it's breaking down faster than it's building back up, which, believe it or not, leads to the accumulation of more body fat. And it does that through increasing inflammation. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, so I don't want to give it all away. But you have to understand is that exercise is a form of stress. Now, it's a good stress on our body if we don't overdo it. I've actually chatted about this before too. It's this J curve. You have to understand that a J curve essentially means this. We're looking at one side of the J as being good for us, starting not to be good for us, and then really bad for us when we overdo it, right? So we've got this line that it's good for us up to a certain point, and then we overdo it too much, and then it's not good for us. Why? Well, because it adds more stress to our bucket, okay? We start to get overflowing with that. So here's the deal. You can exercise, you should exercise, but you can't overdo it. Now, it's difficult, that means for me, to give you specific recommendations because let's say you're someone dealing with chronic fatigue. For you, it might literally be getting out of bed, making yourself a little breakfast, and then resting for a while, right? And then for another person, they're going to do their 3,500 steps daily, so they can't even work up to the 10,000 steps. Now, I've gone through all this before. I want to link up that podcast for you today, but it's basically how to ramp up your workouts. Now, it talks about going from walking and then to some cardio and what to do next. I actually tell you exactly what to do. So I'm going to put that in my notes today, how to ramp up your workouts. So all I want you to do today is go to stephencabral.com/776. That will actually give you all the links from today's show notes, right? So I'll link up either whether it's workouts or I'll link up previous podcasts as well. So just remember this. If you're already in a stress mode and you work out, you might feel great. You might feel great, right? Because you're amping yourself up even more. You're producing more cortisol, which again, I want to talk about in a moment. But that's leading to more stress on the body. And if you're not giving yourself enough sleep and really great nutrition, well, your body's going to actually create more inflammation, do more harm than good. So always keep that in mind. The shorter the workout, the less stress total on the body, right? Because it's for a shorter period of time. All right. Now, number 2 is this. You need more recovery time as you age. I truly believe this. You can lift the same weights. You really can. I mean, to a certain degree, right? Powerlifters is a specialty sport. But you can lift pretty much the same weights, okay? There's not going to be a huge fall off. So I work with a bunch of clients right now in their 60s, right? And I've worked with clients. Our oldest client was 103 years old. So we've worked with through all ages. Okay. So here's the thing. I have a ton of data. People can pretty much lift the same weights. They can lift heavy weights throughout their life, all right? But the biggest decline doesn't come from the amount of weight that you can move, but it comes from your recovery time, which means you create more inflammation to a faster degree and your muscle repair, synthesis, and rejuvenation is slower. So what does this mean? Well, it means that if you really train to a lengthier amount of time and you create more muscle damage, it's going to take you longer to fix. So the truth is that if we're creating less damage, which is number 3, consistency over lengthier workouts. All right, so I'll just go right into it. So the key as you age is to be consistent with your workouts at least every other day. 4 times a week is what I prefer. Okay, at least every other day, or 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off. That allows you to then be consistent with your workouts rather than just going for one bigger overreaching workout. Overreaching basically means first step before overtraining, meaning that you're pushing your body a little too hard all in one workout. Kind of like we have the weekend warriors, right? Weekend warrior might means I'm so busy during the week, I can't go to the gym, I can't work on my basement, I can't do anything. But on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to crush it and I'm going to work out for 2 hours in the gym to make up for my missing Monday through Friday. That is not what you want to do. The research actually shows this, that if you only do that once a week or twice a week for a longer period of time, when you're older, like 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, your chance of like a heart attack or coronary vascular-based issue can increase because your body's not used to it, right? Once a week, you're really going after it, but then the rest of the time, sedentary. So the research actually shows be more consistent. Don't overdo any one workout, but you'll still get the same results, if not better. Meaning like you'll get better results because you're more consistent with it and your muscles aren't as flaccid, aren't as weak for a longer period of time. It's always why I like to say, if you can do the every other day workout, what happens is Monday workout, okay, let your body recover on Tuesday. You could do yoga, you could do stretching, you could do Tai Chi, Qigong, Hatha yoga, some type of slow flow, active work, or maybe you just do a spin class, okay? Now on the next day, you get back into that next workout. Let your body recover, do some active work. Of course, do your 10,000 steps per day. You might need to work up to that, but then do that. So what you're showing is like muscles are working, they got broken down, now they're recovering. They're working, now they got broken down and they're recovering. So we have this undulating up and down pattern. And that's a great way to train. But also, and I've talked about this again on so many Training Thursdays. So just go back. If you're a new listener to the Cabral concept, every single Thursday, we'll have a little TT next to it. That stands for Training Thursday. And all those shows, I've literally picked apart all the workouts that I've ever created and my team's created, 20 years now of creating workouts. And I've distilled that into the information that you need to know best. And then, of course, I have my book, which is called A Man's Guide to Muscle and Strength. You can buy that on Amazon, but I might make a whole $1 if you purchase that book. The reason for that book is that is the answer to all of like the exercise. Like, hey, what workouts should I do? Well, it's all in that book. It really is. And that's something that I really enjoyed creating way back in the day. Probably, I actually wrote the book in 2009, late 2009, and it didn't even come out until 2011. Or did I write in 2010? Came out in 2012, somewhere like that. But it's been a while, but I really enjoy still gifting that book quite a bit. So the next point, number 4 of why shorter workouts are the future of fitness, and the future is right now, is that people are starting to become a little bit more really scientific and a little bit more intelligent about working out. And they understand that there's a hormone up and down regulation that happens in the body. So what happens is when you're exercising, cortisol levels will start to increase, but not overdo it. It's just a normal increase with exercise. But at the same time, DHEA, natural growth hormone, and testosterone, natural testosterone, get boosted as well. Why do you want those even if you are a woman? Here's why. Because testosterone, growth hormone, DHEA, they'll all boost your metabolism, okay? You're not going to become big and bulky, but what they do is they actually help to burn body fat. They help to metabolize proteins. They make the body feel great. They're an alpha hormone, basically. You feel ambitious. You have good drive, endorphins, libido, everything. So you want that. But here's the other part to that. And the research has shown this now for 20 years. So this isn't new research. But after approximately, again, this is approximate based on the person, but approximately 40 minutes. And this is why at my studio in Boston, our workouts are 45 minutes long. Because after about 40 minutes of exercise, cortisol levels start to spike and testosterone and positive hormone benefits start to drop. You get basically, cortisol is an anti-inflammatory, but it's also a stress hormone. And then eventually the cortisol comes down and you're left with the inflammation. So what we're trying to do is modulate inflammation by not making the workouts too long or making them too crazy. And then we're trying to upregulate the positive hormones, the metabolic boosting ones, which is why even though our clients may not burn as many calories in that 45 minutes, they actually get better results. And the reason is that their results keep coming for the next 36 hours after that workout. And I've talked about that before on a Training Thursday, is that we boost metabolism for approximately a day and a half. And that's all research driven. And it's because of the type of interval-based training that we're doing, that we're having clients do 2-3 exercises typically in a row, sometimes up to 5. And then we give them a period of rest. And then we do it again. And then we give them a period of rest. So what we're doing is we're boosting not only EPOC, which is essentially the amount of calories used through oxygen consumption, other factors as well, when the workout's over, but also the metabolic disturbance, they call it, that has happened in the body, the after effect after the workout, which means that your body has to come back to homeostasis, back to equilibrium. And to do that, consumes calories. So not just during the workout, meaning like you burn your most calories going for a run or something like that, but you don't get your best results that way. You get your best results by doing metabolic resistance-based training, which means getting your heart rate up through some type of body weight training or resistance, which is kettlebells, cables, dumbbells, you name it. So looking at hormone regulation is the real future, meaning like we're doing it now, but I believe it's going to become more mainstream. It's going to become more mainstream when I talked about heart rate training last week. Hopefully you checked that out. That was episode 769, The Sweet Science of Heart Rate Training. That shows you, again, another future of fitness that's happening now. But in the future, we'll have wearables that will show hormones. I really believe that. You'll be able to see hormone levels in the body. And then we're going to be able to get super scientific with that. I am actually super excited about that type of stuff. I love that. That's how I want all the data possible. And I want to keep customizing and using bioindividuality. That's what gets me excited. And I know that I'll still be in it when that happens. So I'm looking forward to that 20 years from now, 30 years from now for sure. All right. Number 5 is called escalating density training or escalating density principles. Okay. Now, this is a formula or a philosophy that's been created that says this: if you take an hour workout and you do it in a half hour, you're going to get better results. Let me repeat that. Take the same workout, means the same volume, right? Because you can't change the time. But let's say the total workout was 18 sets, 6 exercises times 3 sets each. That's a normal example of what we'll do in my studio. We'll do 6 exercises, let's say 2 trisets, 3 exercise sets. And then we'll do that for 3 sets, okay? So we'll take 3 exercises, do them 3 times, of course, a rest in between. Then we'll do another 3 exercises and we'll do that 3 times. Again, it will depend on the client. Like, let's say they're in their 70s. We might only do that twice, but we still design the same workout because they're still a human, right? At 70 years old, you're still human. You still have the same muscles. You still have the same body. I know that I'm joking around, but it's the truth. Like, you still want to do the same workout, but you might not do the same volume. You might not do the same amount because your body just doesn't recover as quickly, and that would cause too much muscle tissue breakdown, right? Too much inflammation. Now, after doing that for 6 months at 70 plus years old, you might be able to do 3 sets. But remember, I've given the research before on a previous show that shows that 2 sets in your 70s, again, this research was done by Dr. Wayne Westcott quite a while ago, right here in Quincy, Massachusetts. that you're still going to get those great results, much exponentially more than just one set. You have to do the 2 sets. Okay. So here's the deal. If you do the same volume, those 18 sets, and it used to take you an hour, if you were to do them in a half hour or 40 minutes, which is exactly what we do in my studio, you're going to get better results. Why? Because you've now changed the rest period. You've created more time under tension, which is the amount of time your muscles are under tension when you're moving a weight, okay, in a shorter period of time. You've simply condensed the volume in a shorter period of time. And when you do that, you get better results. So we've really seen this stack up as well. And that's the nice thing. And I say this all the time. And I say it from really a point of like just feeling extreme gratefulness of this, is that we've been able to complete over 250,000 client appointments for wellness-based issues in functional medicine, for weight loss-based issues, for personal training, for health, for anti-aging. And we have so much data. So before it's ever written in a textbook, before it comes out on PubMed, we are doing it. And it's not just myself. Like there's so many other great people who are talking about these things and seeing it in practice. And I don't even want to name names because when I do, I leave out so many amazing practitioners and personal trainers. But the truth is, like, when I go on a podcast, just for example, like Jay Ferrugia has been doing this forever. And he'll talk about the same, like we have the same philosophies, myself and a lot of other people in the industry. You can just hear the same thing. And the reason is that once you've been doing this for 20 years, you don't need someone else's textbook and you don't need PubMed or any of these other places to tell you that it works or it doesn't. Because you've done it like way more times than any one particular study. And we have 250,000 client appointments as data, and we keep all the data. I mean, how many other studies have you ever seen with 250,000 people? Very, very few. So what I'm saying is that listen to the people and what they're saying once they've had a certain level of wisdom. And I don't mean that from an ego standpoint, meaning like wisdom only comes with time. And that's why I read, like to this day, I still read hundreds of books a year. And I also go back to the books that were written like 100 plus years ago. And I love to read like people when they're in their 50s and 60s. I love when the author's a little older, like they've had a little bit more time in practice, because I'm like, oh, I get to read 30 years of all their trial and error, like 30 years of them messing up. And now here's the conclusion that they've come to. That's what I enjoy, like, because now I don't need to wait another 30 years. I don't need to wait until I'm 60 years old to accumulate the knowledge of other people that have that 30 years in a new field. So I study a lot of brain-based diseases now, and I study a lot about with anti-aging, and I'm looking into like Dr. Abrams' work, Dr. Pfeiffer's work, Dr. Walsh's work, 30,000 plus patients on how deficiencies in certain vitamins and minerals cause schizophrenia, depression, OCD, bipolar, anxiety, ADD, ADHD. And I look at that and I say, okay, I've read this before. That makes sense. Oh, this is new. Let's put this into this box. So all I'm doing is basically like forensics. I'm trying to match things up on a board. Like, oh, this goes with this. This goes with this. That makes total sense. Oh, I missed that. I never knew that before, but that makes sense because now I can put it in this bucket. So that's all you're trying to do is just accumulate the knowledge from people that have been doing this before. And so what I'm saying is if you hear me say it and you hear other people say it and they have the 10, they have the 20 years experience, you're like, okay, that makes sense. They've gone through it before. They've gotten injured. They've had to overcome things. And this is the conclusion that they've come to. So I love seeing the overlap. You know, that's where I always look for the overlap. All right. Number 6 is, this is a myth that you need to really destroy the workout or crush the workout or destroy the muscle in order to get results. This is something that I totally did, you know, back in high school in my early 20s, is that I would do 4 exercises just for my chest, 4 exercises for my legs or my quads, you know, and I would do the same thing for back, like back day. Okay, this is arms, like any one of those things. What you have to understand is that the consistency, where I go back to point number 3, is more important than any one workout, but also that it's called overkill, meaning that your muscles are going to max out with a certain amount of volume. That's probably more like 2 exercises for most people. So here's the deal. It could be 2 exercises on the same day, or it could be 2 exercises back to back, or even 3 exercises, which we do in one given week. So for example, let's say you want to work your chest, okay? Or you want to work your biceps. Well, you can do that on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you can still do you can do 3 exercises on each of those, 1 exercise for each one of those workouts. That gives you 3 for the week. Or you can do a little bit more loaded up on one day, okay? It could be on chest, and then you can do a little bit later in the week. So what I'm saying is that you can take the total volume that we talked about before. Oh, I want to do this much for my chest. Okay, but you can spread it out by doing more full body workouts. Full body workouts are the answer for most people. And I did a whole podcast on that. So check that out as well. I'll try to see if I can find that as well for full body workouts, why it's so much better than splitting body parts. Obviously, there's always a contraindication. There's always 1% of the population who should be splitting body parts, but very, very few people. Okay, very few people. So remember, better to work a muscle, and if you feel a little sore the next day, that was enough. You don't need to feel completely sore and literally wrecked where you can't walk down a flight of stairs because you worked your leg so hard, or you can't squeeze the tube of toothpaste because your arms are so sore. And I've been there, so I'm kind of laughing right now because my arms used to I worked them so hard, I couldn't even wash my face. That's a true story after a workout. I know that there's probably a lot of other people out there right now who may have done that in the past as well. I used to want that, right? That's what I went for. But now I understand that makes no sense now. I'll end up, fatigued, brain fog, exhausted the next day if I would have trained to that level. All right. And the last point of why shorter workouts are the future of fitness is that there is a now overall understanding that the majority of your body transformation results come from nutrition. I want to repeat that. The majority of your body transformation results come from nutrition. I've had people go through our Fatlocity diet plan or my Dr. Cabral detox, and I've had them lose 15 plus pounds in 21 days, which is phase 1 of Fatlocity, or the 21-day Dr. Cabral detox, which is the 21 days, of course, without any exercise. Okay. Do I recommend that? No, because I want to get people moving their body. But let's say they can't. They can just do some walking. Great. Do some walking. My job is this. My job is not to force you down a particular path. My job is to meet you where you are. Okay, meet you right where you are today and take you by the hand and walk you down the path slowly. Meaning that I don't need to push you. I don't need to catapult you, any of those things. We have time. We all have time. Don't get too quickly into this, right? You can ease into the workouts. You can gently work your way into it. You don't need to start where anyone else is. That's my advice. But remember, your nutrition can get you immediate results. Exercise, you want that because you want to keep your metabolism boosted for life. You want to keep your bones strong for life. You want to keep the permanent results that the nutrition gives you in the first place, okay? And if you want to build muscle, well, then that nutrition is extremely important as well. And when you're on any type of nutrition plan, exercising at least 2 days a week with weights is extremely important, even if it's body weight, because you don't want to lose muscle mass as well. So it's just so important to stay focused, meaning that if you can give me 3 days a week. So if someone walks into my studio, I always ask them, can you give me 3 days a week? They're like, oh, not really. I'm not doing anything right now. I think it'd be difficult. Can you give me 2 days? 2 days is the minimum. Okay. 2 days is the minimum of exercise. That's what I want. 3 days, honestly, that's fantastic. If you can give me a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, a Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, however you want to manipulate it. So it's not really 2 days in a row, but it's somewhere around every other day. You will get fantastic results if you combine the nutrition with that. You really will. Don't think you need to do 7 days a week. 2 to 3 days, ideally 3 to 4. But if you can give me 3, that's a good compromise. We'll work with that. And then you follow the nutrition plan, right? The exact nutrition plan that we use in my wellness practice, my body transformation, I should say my functional medicine practice, we use the Dr. Cabral detox. Okay, we do that to help people lose weight, decrease inflammation, balance hormone levels, all of those things. That's the goal. But also private clients, if they're not ready to do a detox, they can follow along with the Fatlocity diet plan as well. Okay. It's not as stringent. It's not as strict. You're eating 3 times a day plus 2 snacks. So it's kind of like meeting people where they are, right? If you're used to having sandwiches at lunch and maybe some pasta or takeout at dinner, this is a plan that eases you into it. But if you want really the massive, the wellness-based, the functionality as well, then the Dr. Cabral detox teaches you that philosophy as you're going through it, and it maximizes your results. But again, my job is honestly this. My job is to allow you to understand that all of this is available to you, that it's your body. It's your job too to really take care of that body. It's going to be with you for life. It's the only one that I know of, at least, that you're going to be given. Okay. And your job is to honestly keep it as healthy as possible so that it allows you to carry you through life without the aches and the pains and everything else that people say comes with aging, right? But I know many, many people, right? Just as many who had those aches and pains, but they got their body balanced. And as they got their body balanced, those aches and pains and brain fog and lethargy and all those things magically disappeared, right? But it's not magic at all, because we know if we get the body back to equilibrium, if we get the body back to its homeostasis, right, its level place, then all these aches and pains, this lethargy, these things can't exist. So what we need to do is just get you moving down that path. I truly believe that, all right? And so if there's any questions, I always love to do follow-ups. If you have exercise questions as well, ask them at cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our free private Facebook group. Even if you don't want to interact, okay? Even if you don't want to interact, you can go there. You can see what other people are posting. You can see their questions. There's a new recipe literally listed every single Wednesday by Julia Hayes, one of our amazing health coaches. You might speak with her on an upcoming lab coaching call if you've ran a lab through us. She's fantastic, and she gives amazing recipes every single Wednesday, okay? But also, again, if you're willing to wait a little bit, it's about 4 weeks lead time now. I can answer your question personally on the house calls, on the weekend house calls. And to have that answered, you just go to stephencabral.com/ask Cabral. No matter what, we're here for you. We want to make sure you succeed. Thank you so much for tuning into the Cabral Concept. And as always, if this show was helpful, please do feel free to pass it along to someone else.
Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.